Hey everyone, welcome back. So I'm just hitting you up this Saturday with some new finds since I've been gone. In this video, I'm just going to be sharing all local stuff that I found. So if you guys remember, I mentioned I was going to go to Omaha, and I made it there. Didn't come out with very much at all. Only two items, and one of them I think I'm going to get rid of. So didn't really know what it was at the time, but I listened to it, and it's not going to stick around. I did buy three items in total, but one of them I found one album I already had. I just decided to give it to a friend because it was so cheap. So yeah, just two finds, nothing too exciting, but the rest of the stuff I found on this last Wednesday, I went to Grand Island and found some cool stuff at the antique mall. I always find some cool stuff at this one antique mall, and every time I go there, it seems like I find some stuff that's worth at least picking up for $3. So I'm gonna start out with the Omaha stuff. It was kind of a fun trip, regardless, not finding anything because I like to get out when I can. I like to travel, and I don't get to go to Omaha too much. It is closer to me now than it was before I moved, but um, it was a nice day. It was nicer than I thought it was going to be. The sun was out, and kind of looked at two other different shops I'd never been to as well. It's just kind of fun just roaming around because I went to the old market in Omaha, and there was a couple shops there that supplied records, and just could not find anything there. But it was still fun to dig around and look at some local stuff as well. Uh, so the two finds that I found, well, I found one at Homer's in the old market, but that was the one I gave away as a gift. Uh, well, I guess this one was too. This is the other one I found at Homer's, but I'll start with the one I found in Bellevue at Record Menders. I started my trip there and just could not find anything that day. And a lot of the psych albums were kind of just the same ones I came across last time, actually. um, but just couldn't find a whole lot. But I just decided to look in their Christian section, see if there was like any obscure private press sort of stuff. And this is one of those albums I found online. I always seen online the cover. It's always kind of stood out to me, so I just decided to give it a shot. And this is one of those I didn't know if it was cheap or not. I didn't look on my phone or anything, but for the price it was, I'm not too dissatisfied, or anything. It wasn't a total loss, but it was $8, and I decided to pick up on this, the Crimson Bridge. And just looking at the cover alone, the whole presentation of it just looks like it might be good, right? So on the back it says, "Fill your head with the Crimson Bridge," like, you know. And then it describes their sound as rock, jazz, Latin, progressive, blues, acid folk. Like it's all one adjective they use to describe this. And at the end it says, "Sound like something you should be a part of? Well then, fill your head with the Crimson Bridge." And it's got like a sidelong track on side two, and this is kind of disappointing actually. There's only two tracks worth noting, which is Easy Ways, which is kind of like a folk number, which is really different than the most material on here. The other track is Birthright. It's kind of an upbeat, kind of funky, I guess you could say their most psychedelic cut on here because it's got a nice fuzz break on it, but otherwise it's not too exciting. It's basically a lot of horn rock, from the time period, the early '70s. Kind of sounds like Chicago a little bit. Not saying Chicago's bad or anything, but just not the sound I'm looking for. The horns in this are pretty annoying, actually. So not very good, but for $8, figured I'd give it a shot, right? So I mean, there's some interesting moments. It's a little upbeat. It's kind of funky jazz rock. Is probably the tag I would put on it. This next record's kind of interesting though. Um, so this is one I found in the Homers, and this is kind of a limited edition. It's kind of falling apart. This This is a really interesting album. It's called the Stench Band, and this is kind of like a homemade sort of homemade compilation made back in 2000 by a bunch of uh, a group of people from Omaha. And as you can see, it's kind of coming apart. This whole sleeve, it's about to unglue itself. But so this is an album called "Pray for the Fred," recorded 1971 to 73, and these were guys just basically doing these home recordings in Omaha, and it's a strange album. It's probably the strangest record I have in my collection. um, like if you want to put a party record on, you know, expecting some good time classic rock and roll, you're gonna get something else. Your friends are gonna leave the house probably. um, just the song titles alone are just bizarre. So you got songs like "The Happy Ass," the Ballad of Super Penis," "Jaded Toilet Plunger," and probably the most bizarre one, "Orange Juice Fixture Nose Wagon." It's like they just selected words out of the dictionary and just like threw them all together or something. Yeah, there's some very odd songs on here. So the first thing that comes to mind, like to describe this, it's kind of like an outsider rock sort of record where it's got all these different blends of styles going for it all in one. Very experimental, avant-garde, uh, based off like Dadaism, and you can tell it's very abstract, very weird stuff going on here. The cover art is basically what this is. It's just scatterbrain sort of stuff, and it comes with liner notes as well, kind of telling their story. It's hard to read in that print, but it's like they just photocopied this off a printer for their copies. But their influences were for sure like Captain Beefheart, the early punk stuff in the late '60s, um, some Frank Zappa and like John Cage, that kind of stuff. So in a way it's psychedelic, but it's not your traditional psych kind of record. It's psychedelic in the fact that it's just out there. It's just so different, spaced out, uh, noodling, you could call it. Um, very, very bizarre stuff. So there's only a few clips on YouTube, but honestly, they're not the best tracks off here. I think my favorites are on side two. I can't remember which track. They all kind of blend together, so they're all different styles. But the tracks on YouTube are some of the more bizarre ones for sure. So if you want to look it up, check it out. This came out in 2000, though. I'm not sure how many copies were pressed, but it's a bizarre listen for sure. So onto the stuff from Grand Island. Like I said, I just hit up this one antique mall, and uh, there's a lot of stuff there. It's probably got more records than what I got in my collection for sure. A lot of junk, as expected, but came out with stuff I wanted to take a chance on, and they all came out pretty good. One of them I took a chance on, this Private Press, and it's surprisingly very good, so I will get to that. This first one I'll share though, I only found this just in its sleeve. Must have been at a record store in Lincoln or something. There must have been a place called Dusty's Records, because I found a lot of records here in Nebraska with that brand, Dusty's Records. So it must have been a local thing for me, but I'm not sure on that one. But I found this in the sleeve, and it's a pretty nice, crisp copy of Sgt. Pepper on the Parfum label. It played very nice, so I was very surprised to find this just by its lonesomeness, no sleeve or anything. So I don't know how scarce those turn up in the US, but I basically got this for free because I had no sleeves, so it's one I just picked up on. But as far as the most interesting one that I picked up, that I actually just added to Discogs the day of, is this one. It's one of those private press deals where couldn't find really much any info about it online. And the sounds I heard, I was really expecting this to be total crap, and it turned out to be something kind of unique. This is John Fred Houston. Now, I'm not sure of the release date on this, but I'm guessing it's probably like early 70s, maybe like 71, 72 ish. Because I think all of these songs, for the most part, are cover versions. I'm looking at the back here, so you can kind of tell he covers like Neil Diamond and John Denver type tunes. You guys can read the back there. He also signed it here. He must have been selling these at his local gigs that he was playing at bars or something. So looking at the whole presentation of it might look kind of crappy, but I just decided, what the heck, $3. I'll just check this one out, and this is far better than I thought it was going to be. So, songs like Sweet Caroline and Ghost Riders, Rocky Mountain High, you might expect kind of a crooner kind of country thing. It is semi-rural sounding, but the man's voice certainly is. It opens up. He almost sounds like Skip Spence on the opening track, or at least it reminded me of Skip Spence on his solo album. And sort of a Neil Diamond voice as well when he is more energetic on the songs. But the interesting thing about this one is that he uses, pretty much on all tracks, he uses this vocal delay and the spring reverb that really resonates even after he's singing. Like, you can still hear the spring reverb. It's just so raw and kind of gritty sounding, that makes it kind of just very cosmic sounding, and gives it kind of this weird aura about it. So very interesting. So I would say my favorite tracks are his version of Ghost Riders. It even has like this with the vocal delays, it has this really trippy ending where he must have like this some sort of acoustic instrument plugged into like this wah wah pedal, and he starts just playing the hell out of it, and it's just really out there. And then Holly Holy, which I believe is another Neil Diamond song, has probably the most vocal delays on it. And then he does an instrumental track, Windy and Warm, which is an instrumental track, but he uses more of that wah wah pedal. So I did add this to Discogs, and so hopefully we will see some more copies pop up, and give this a listen if you can. I wish I had my laptop working so that I could upload some of these tracks, but I'll probably insert a clip maybe before or in between this video. We'll see. So you guys can get a little taste of what it may sound like. So, captured some of the better moments on it. So was really impressed to find this for practically nothing. And I found his obituary online, and it said he has two children, or two kids of his, living in Nebraska. So even though he's based out of Tennessee, and that's where he passed away too. So very interesting. So have to locate his kids down and get some more copies, right? No, that's very cool though. Cool listen. Some of these other albums are kind of more common titles, but I picked them up for good reasons, and I'll show them off real quick. So I was really pleased to find this. I've never seen this in the wild, but when I was in college, my college buddy found a reissued copy of this, and usually we would always go together to the Goodwill store. The one time I didn't go with him, he finds it. He finds this reissued copy. Here I found I think it's the second press original on Date Records. Finally found the Zombies, Odyssey and Oracle. And I've never owned this album, if you can believe that. It's signed on the back by the owner, but this plays for the most part kind of VG plus in some spots, but it's not the best copy, but for $3, that's about the right price for this, I suppose. I'm pretty sure this is more common than the other originals on Date, which seem to get some pretty good prices on it. So, you know, unpopular opinion here, but I'm not the biggest fan of this. I still would pick it up, like I had, but you know, this has kind of grown on me over the years as well. I do appreciate this kind of music, and it does go very well with after listening to Pet Sounds. I would say it's good contemporary to that. My favorite track's probably Rose for Emily. Um, Changes is always a cool track with it's not the one with the vocal acapella thing. And Time of the Season is of course classic track as well. Um, that's really all I got to say about the Zombies. I do love UK pop music, but this is just one that's never settled as well as like other big ones from the era for me. So it's an unpopular opinion, but take it as it is. I'm not changing it. So on that note, we got another famous band here, but they started out really well with this debut, and I've always been kind of looking for this as well. The cover's pretty beat, but it plays really well. And this is Blue Oyster Cult, their self-titled debut. It's got some stainage there and stuff, but some ringware. This came out in '72. It's recorded in '71, I think, and um, of course, I do prefer like their previous band or what they went under, Stock Forest Group, um, which I think they were going to get signed onto Elektra, but it didn't happen. And but this debut is a great follow up as to what they kind of would become. But this one's a little more edgier, kind of darker sounding, but still really has a really crisp hard rock sound that kind of makes me think this was probably a party favorite back in the day. And I love this album. I rate this pretty high. So starts out well with Transmission Con MC. Ends really well too. Before the Kiss, a red cap. It's kind of like it's kind of, it's got the steady beat and this kind of twangy guitar. But my favorites are on side two with screams and She's as Beautiful as a Foot. I first My first song I ever heard by this band before even Don't Fear the Reaper was Cities on Flame with Rock and Roll, which is still a favorite track of mine. I still enjoy that track. It's kind of progressive blues rock, but yet kind of hard rock based. I love all of side two on this one, so kind of a spacey sound in some spots. It does have some mild psychedelic elements as well, especially on that side two. So it's on the Red Columbia. I think that's correct label. So I think it even sold pretty well even in its day. So then I decided to pick up on this. I got the record on the turntable, but because I was just playing this, and I didn't have a copy of this. And I saw some of their other albums there as well, and nicer shape than this one. But this is a German pressing. I found out all of the copies of this band were German pressings, and I found the Mamas and the Papas. And in this case, the Papas and the Mamas, kind of reverse the title. And I believe this is a German pressing. Yeah, made in Germany. And this is not the the U.S. copies had the version, of course, where it was cut in the middle and you could open the cover open with different faces on them. This one you cannot do that. So, kind of ruins the whole concept behind the title. I really enjoy this one though. They're kind of all their albums do kind of sound similar, but this one they get a little a little edgy as well. Tracks like Gemini Child and Meditation Mama, another favorite track off here. It's kind of more dreamier in spots, and they go like just only solo on the vocals on some spots, and probably the famous song off here, Dream a Little Dream of Me, which you're gonna always skip over that, but it's on the RCA Victor label. It's a black label. So I got a price tag on it. So So yeah, I was just kind of surprised to see a German pressing. I don't know how often those pop up, but I imagine they're just as cheap. I got 3 more records here, but I'll probably go through them pretty fast. But this one I just picked up just for memories, I guess, because I used to love this movie. The Warriors soundtrack. I was kind of surprised to see it there, and I've just never seen this out in the wild, and it's a little dusty yet. But I used to love the hell out of this movie as a kid. Just the fact, I always thought as a kid just to have my own gang, gang of friends in my small town, and just like roam the streets. Um, but I kind of enjoy the soundtrack, like the original soundtrack behind the movie, like the Baseball Furies chase with the synthesizers and stuff. It's still fresh and very very cool soundtrack. It just fits the movie perfectly for '79 it came out. So and then of course is my introduction to the Eagles as well in the city with that track on there. The theme and the Baseball Furies chase scene is just brings back memories. I hadn't seen the movie in a long time either. I think I have the movie back at my parents' house. Back in my childhood when I watched it. Probably shouldn't have seen it as a kid, but I don't care. And I picked up on this. Speaking of a person that passed recently, Lyle Mays, who was with Pat Metheny, was on this album. I remember listening to this with my college buddy because he's kind of into this sort of thing, ECM records and stuff. And I kind of enjoyed some of Pat Metheny's work, and this one kind of stood out to me. I hadn't heard it since, so I still have to give this a listen. Not really the stuff I'm into, it's just kind of really light jazz guitar rock, but I just, it's just something to mellow out to maybe. So I'll just have to give this another shot. It's a really clean copy. This one I did not know about at all, and I had to kind of look this up and couldn't really find much about this guy, except I think he was like a jazz pianist. And I found this. This is Butterscotch Rum by Gary McFarlane and Peter Smith. And then, the cover kind of just stood out to me at first. I was like, what is this, And it's a very small piano with only a few chords on it, but, it's got, I think these are all the lyrics to inside. So this is on Buddha Records, of all labels. And I only kind of sampled a little bit of this, like side 1 and a little bit of side 2, and what I got from it was kind of just very light jazz pop, kind of slowly building jazz pop with some like longer cuts, if I remember right. Well, not really. I guess maybe it just kind of flowed all together pretty nicely, and I didn't notice. But it's got a couple longer tracks, but still don't know very much about this duo, except he must have been a jazz pianist, Gary McFarlane. And then I found out he passed away the same year this came out. So that's really all I know. So if you guys know any more, let me know. So that's all I got for this. Is just the local finds. So I kind of want to keep it. I don't want to keep you here for like 40 minutes, but I do have in the house. I have 2 online purchases, and I should be getting one today. And those online purchases are pretty neat. 2 of them I'm really pumped to talk about because they are stuff probably never shown in the VC, and people rarely talk about them. They're worth mentioning and checking out. So should be getting that one today, and if I do, I'll try to make a note and perhaps post a video later today or tomorrow. Probably tomorrow though. So we'll just see how busy I am and if I'm in the mood or anything. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and just making videos as the records come in. So been a little bit of delay as far as me making videos as often, but I just catch up when I want to, and I'm just very chill about making videos and stuff. So the weather here has been for the most part pretty good, except for the last couple days. It's been really windy, and I think one day last week we had like a high of 17, then it jumped up to like 40 something. It's like the weather is unpredictable, and nobody should appreciate Nebraska weather. They just shouldn't. So that's really all I got. So let's see. I think I got 2 coming in the mail, but 1 today. So I won't keep you guys any further. So let me guys know what you think of the stuff I've showed, and we'll catch you later.
Wow.